Paris section. So, sorry, we should have started with that. So, inshallah, there are some certain things going on. Tí a fẹ́ share lágbára Ọlọ́run, then a máa turn it over to our attorney tó jẹ́ pé a dúpẹ́ fún wọn tó jẹ́ pé bọ́n ṣe rí issue yìí iṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run náà ni. It's something everyone ní DMV knows him very well. They're very, very, very good. And tó bá ti dé, I introduce one properly, but let's just set the issue out. So there's been some misinformation and there's some correct information. So nítorí la ṣe ní Anthony wà tí wọ́n ti ń practice for over 25 years to give us what exactly. Àwọn ló mọ issue tó ń go on ní court. Àwọn ló get the latest law and all the thing that is going on regarding immigration. So wọ́n lè fún wa ní the real truth about it, inshallah. But just to start, there are so many organizations, so just Islamic organizations, they put some memo, some write-up for us to be understanding as an Islamic community so that we are all guided and not live so much in fear due to some of the executive order being put in place. So just to start, we know that there's some the law for some reason is saying that if you are for especially for sacred places like the religious centers, church, mosque, schools, all the places that they don't go to, it seems they've given them the power to do that. But I know lawyer will give more insights to that because I know their priorities tí wọ́n give fún àwọn ICE. Àwọn ICE yẹn ló ń pè ní Immigration and Custom Enforcement. So àwọn ló ń enforce law or the executive order tí the president has just put into place. So I know they categorize those people who are going to be targeted for deportation, or I mean for whatever reason, for detain. But we know that that's why they are doing that. They have also given some authority. If you want goes to somewhere that they've been raided, you can unfortunately be in there just doing your own business and be encountered. So what are some of the questions if you are in that situation? Some people have locked their house. Some people are in their house right now, not going out. Some people don't send their children to schools. So you imagine how they're going to eat, how they're going to function as human beings. So those are the things. And I know some people are now taking to the advantage of installing video cameras to make sure that one who is coming into the house or not. So those are some kind of things to parade in our communities that we want to talk about. But as a masjid, as a community masjid, what are we supposed to be doing? Which is one of these being put together, is for us to inform ourselves, for us to be better informed. But information is power. So if we know all the right information, we'll be able to live a life of being not fearful. So inshallah, so one of the things tí a gbà látọwọ́ àwọn Council on American Islamic Relations in America is they put a memo out. I know some of us have seen it, some of us might not have seen it, but I will just briefly state that a memo is just talking about who ICE tí mention. I will not enforce the ICE, which are under the Department of Homeland Security. So they're the one enforcing the law. So, and that alone is creating that fear and more than target the immigrant community, which we've seen around. Though I know this is mostly tied to the Hispanic due to some of the rules, but the lawyer will be mentioning all that. But it will pertain to if they come to our masjid, what are we supposed to do as a masjid? So typically, I know lawyer is going to advise us more on that. I know there might be some court injunction not to, for those sacrifices. I don't know if there's been enacted or not, but all we have to do is get a memo. And she saw the memo is saying we should remain silent, speak to a lawyer, and that's the more reason we have our well-known lawyer in the DMV area to tell us what and what more on that, or we request for a phone call. So, but in case, because my priorities are those that have been convicted, those that have been put in deported. I mean that put injunction that they should be deported. I think those that came in without inspection. That means those to one without visa, without visa. Those are the priority of people they are targeting uh, based on the Department of Homeland. But should in case they have somebody where we are, especially like our masjid or Onwasile, that we are all living, so many people that lives in there. What are we supposed to do? So one of the things that we talked about is they're probably going to have warrant. The lawyer will say more on that. So, but as masjid, we are told to make sure that we do all we can not to allow them entry, and we'll have to ask the right question for them because our people, our masjid community members come first. So, inshallah, um, that is about the remarks. So we will have various questions on asylum application, all kind of immigration applications, on overstay visas, or if you have been convicted and you've already have a green card, are you in jeopardy or whatever that is. So our able attorney will be able to answer all those questions, which is more of the reason. But inshallah, we plan to finish this before Maghrib, and I know Maghrib's time will be around 5:34 to 5:40, depending on the area you are. But Lagbar Olam, hopefully we'll be able to get Q&A because the question and answer is where most times will be devoted for this session. Ẹ ṣeun. So now let's go to the next one, which is to introduce our able Anthony in the person of Abd Fatai Suleman. He's currently is the principal manager for FAS Law Firm with over 25 years in experience in immigration in the United States. So his law offices, they specialize on U.S. immigration, personal injury, domestic relations. If you have employment discrimination or civil rights violation, they have represented people in there, and they have a proven track record of success in negotiation and in courtroom proceedings. I can testify to that because, yes, they have, for my family for the past 10 years, we've used him, and he's well known in the DMV area. So, and also they are particularly, in the areas of new cases, they are still, they are well read and well known. They read all the latest of the development that is going on there in their law office. So just to talk about how he got to this position, he was admitted to the practice in United States. I'm talking about Anthony Abdul Fatai Sulaiman he was admitted to United States Supreme Court in 2006. But before then, he was admitted to the New York bar in January of 1997. He's also admitted to the Court of Appeals of Maryland in December of 1997. He also been admitted to the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, Fourth Circuit, including the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland, as well as District of Colorado. So he's also a member of this Maryland State Bar Association. And as we all know, he's actively engaged in our community, especially the religious organization in DMV. Everyone knows him very well. So he has a firm belief that United States is a country of immigrants. So as a result of that, that notion, he's particularly passionate about practicing immigration based on that. As we said earlier, he's also represent clients who has been frustrated by unlawful employment, discrimination based on their race, color, national origin or gender or what have you. He has represented people in one cases. He also has represented people that are injured in auto crash or you sleep and fall at your workplaces. He has also represented people there. And he's also practiced family law, criminal and traffic defense, general litigation, as well as international business transactions. So those are just list of what our able attorney has, have done in the last 25 years. But some of his awards, which we all know, he has had several awards, excellence and service award from our civic and religious organization. We thank Allah for his life, for bringing him into our midst. He's a very knowledgeable, noble, and humble lawyer that will listen to you and try to address it. So, inshallah, without further ado, I welcome Maria Babikum to our Anthony Abid Fatai Suleman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi sir.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wow, thank you, Ibrahim, for the wonderful introduction, Oshigan. So let me say salamu alaikum to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. Kí àjọ wà ní ìpàdé yìí ni Ọlọ́run ọba tó ti wà pẹ̀lú wa níbẹ̀rẹ̀, òun náà ló wà pẹ̀lú wa lénìí, òun náà dẹ̀ ló máa wà pẹ̀lú wa lọ́la àti títí láéláé.
Amen.
Síwájú, before I do my presentation, kí n tó sọ nǹkan tí mo fẹ́ bá wa discuss lénìí, mo kàn like láti sọ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣáájú díẹ̀. And àkọ́kọ́ ẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ fún wa ni pé we are Muslims, and that's the most important thing for us. And torí bẹ́ẹ̀, we should not have fear of anything except the Almighty Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Because when they pay in our community, there's a whole lot of ìbẹ̀rùbojo ti mú àwọn èèyàn ju bó ti yẹ lọ. So mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo wa ká fi ọkàn wa papọ̀ sí ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Òun náà dẹ̀ ló máa wà pẹ̀lú wa in whatever situation we find ourselves. Very important. Then ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì nímọ̀ tó fẹ́ gbà wá èèyàn wa ni pé ìwọ̀nba ni ká máa follow bad news mọ́ nípa pé wọ́n gbé àwọn nìkan níbìkan, wọn ò gbé ẹnìkan níbìkan, ẹnìkan lo passport wọlé, kò lo passport wọlé. So ká má lọ fúnra wa ní unnecessary high blood pressure. Mi ò ní ká má gbọ́ news. We can listen to the news, know what is going on, but don't let this be our nǹkan tó máa consume gbogbo all our attention. If ká máa fúnra wa ní unnecessary high blood pressure. At the end of the day, nǹkan tó fẹ́ kí gbogbo ká mọ̀ ni pé ìlú tá a wà, ìlú òfin ni. Bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé a ní àwọn oríṣiríṣi executive orders tí ó ń jáde wá, síbẹ̀síbẹ̀ náà ìlú òfin láti wà náà. Ẹ rí i pé ìgbà tí President Trump tó kọ́kọ́ dé sí ìjọba ẹ̀, ara àwọn òfin tó kọ́kọ́ sọ òní nípa birthright citizenship, nípa àwọn ọmọ tí wọ́n bá bí síbí báyìí, wípé tí ìyá tó bá bí ọmọ sí Amẹ́ríkà tí ò bá ní any valid immigration status, tí bàbá ọmọ náà dẹ̀ ní valid immigration status, pé ọmọ náà kò ní jẹ́ ọmọ Amẹ́ríkà. So of course àwọn èèyàn ti gbé lọ sí court nípa issue yẹn, both in Washington State and even in our state here ní Maryland. And àwọn ilé ẹjọ́ wọ́n ti grant a temporary injunction against the order yẹn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ 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 lọ. So gbogbo oríṣiríṣi àwọn nǹkan tó bá ń gbé wá tí ò bá ti bá òfin mu, àwọn yẹn máa challenge ẹ̀ sílé ẹjọ́, and then the court will decide. Then the other thing tí mo fẹ́ ká jọ mọ̀ as a Muslim fún gbogbo wa is that we are brothers and sisters together. Ẹ má jẹ́ kí àwa tá a bá sọ pé a ti ní ìwé lọ́wọ́, a ní green card, a bá jẹ́ citizen, pé kò kàn mí. We are brothers and sisters. Àwọn tí tán wà ní in a different situation from us, in terms of pé wọn ò tí ì ní ìwé tiwọn láti gbé ìlú, they are still our brothers and they are still our sisters. We should be able to work together and be of assistance to each other. Now, ìyẹn jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣíwájú. Kí wá ní àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ share pẹ̀lú wa lénìí nípa immigration? As we all know, the president has come up with so many executive orders. Kò kí ń ṣe immigrant nìkan ló affect. But it affect the federal government, workers, immigration, you name it. But ìtafẹ́ sọ lẹ́nu ìtafẹ́ bára wa sọ lẹ́nu ìsọ̀rọ̀ nípa immigration, àwọn the executive orders tí wọ́n ti enact. So nǹkan tí máa bá wa sọ lẹ́nu ọ̀nà mẹ́fà òun ni ló pín sí. Number one, àwọn àwo gan ni wọ́n jẹ́ enforcement priorities fún ìjọba. That's number one. Number two ni pé kí ni ẹ̀tọ́ gbogbo wa lábẹ́ òfin. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta ó ní pé kí ni ṣe in a situation tá a bá encounter àwọn agbófinró. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin ni báwo la ṣe lè dáàbò bo ara wa tí wọn fi ní tẹ ojú òfin wa mọ́lẹ̀. And then very important, the last one, àwọn tó yẹ pé tó bá wà nílùú tí wọ́n wà undocumented or tí wọn ò níwèé. Mo ní nóòtù kan náà pé kí n sọ more English, so mi ò mọ a máa mix ẹ̀ mọ́ra wọn náà ni. Àti Ìgbò àti Yorùbá. I don't want to leave anybody out of this discussion.
Yes, we have some people that don't speak English, our grammars, and there's so many on the call.
So I was having this discussion with my brother before we began this process. They say, ṣé Ìgbò ni ká sọ ni àbí Yorùbá o? So because I'm a mix ẹ̀ mọ́ra wọn náà ni, Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ ràn wá lọ́wọ́. And then kí ni àwọn tó yẹ pé ó wà nílùú, and this is a very important thing, ọ̀dẹ̀ ni máa address last. Ó ní pé ẹni tó bá wà nílùú gan tí ò tẹ̀ níwèé lọ́wọ́ tí ó wà out of status. Kí ni tó lè ti wá bọ́ sọ́wọ́ àwọn ICE? Kí ni right ẹ̀ under the law? It's very important that we understand that, so that we can have less fear. As a Muslim, what you're supposed to do is to plan and to be prepared. Ìmọ̀, òun ló ní àdínì. So what we're going to do is part of what the masjid in this community are doing today, which is to give us that knowledge, which is power. So we have to prepare ourselves by knowing what is our rights in any given situation. When we know what our right is, then we can be well prepared for any eventuality. So, number one, àwọn wo ni wọ́n wà under enforcement priority. One thing we should know is this: what the president is doing is called enforcement action. Láti enforce immigration laws. It's not as if he's making new laws, at least for now, in terms of àwọn wo ni wọ́n come under deportation. But each government will have its own priorities in terms of how much enforcement should we do. So to cut a long story short, àwọn wo gan ni wọ́n wà ní under direct enforcement of this government, at least to start with. I don't know if recently Tabawo, the director from ICE in Maryland, he came out and did a video, it's online, and he talked about àwọn tí wọ́n wà under, those who are under the direct enforcement for deportation for now, okay? And those are, number one, criminals, those who have criminal convictions. He didn't distinguish between, form of criminal conviction, dangerous criminals, but there are certain category of people that they have criminal convictions. It doesn't matter if you're a US citizen, German, I'm sorry, green card law, so even if you have a green card, there are certain criminal convictions. Therefore, if you have it, only lead to deportation. That is category number one. That is where they are right now. And then those people that they have, once they've gone through the immigration process, court the order and we come on crew in the US, they have been ordered to be removed from the US, but once they are still here. So those are the second group of people that comes under the enforcement category. And then of course, I want to one wọlé without a visa. They call them arriving aliens. Those people came across the border from Mexico, okay? Before, during Biden's time, okay, and even Obama time, what they do is that when they come through the border like that, they call it catch and release. One court for proceedings, but they will release them, okay? But under the current regime, if you come across the border, they catch them, they're not going to release them, they're going to put them in detention until their case is over. Then you have the fourth category of people who are subject to enforcement, and that is people who are here that are already out of status, okay? But they don't have anything in the works. Not if you get people as you want rights. Maybe you came here on a visiting visa, it has already expired, and you have not done anything to rectify your situation, or you come here on a student visa and you're out of school. Those people who are out of status, and when you are near the bottom of the scale for deportation enforcement. Now, there is what is known as collateral arrest. So if you are in the country, visa expire lower, right? They may not, you are not at least not on top of their enforcement priority. Not that you are not subject to removal, but you are not on top of the scale or on top of the list. But what they have said is that if they, let's say ICE goes somewhere to look for somebody, maybe somebody who has a criminal conviction or somebody who has a final order of deportation, and by coincidence, you are there, then they can only okay? So that is the priority of the enforcement. Criminal conviction, and to the criminal conviction, and to the order of deportation, those who came into the country at the border without any visa, and then the last on the list is those people who are just out of status. Now, next thing is, what is our rights? Regardless of your individual immigration status, whether you have papers or you don't have papers, what are your rights? We're going to talk about that in 3 different situations. Say you are walking on the street, because this has also become very important these days, You're just walking on the street. What is your right in terms of a policeman or ICE approaching you while you are just walking on the street? Or maybe you are driving your car, or maybe you are in your home. Those 3 situations, what are your rights? Okay. Basically, let's say you are walking on the street. The policeman cannot just come and start asking you questions without Nǹkan tí wọ́n ń pè ní what they call probable cause. It's just like the same thing when you are driving, you are in your car, you are driving. Ọlọ́pàá ò kàn lè wò ẹ́ pé okay, ó kàn dá mọ́tò ẹ dúró. There must be something that he or she noticed in your vehicle. Maybe your tag has expired or whatever it is, or maybe you are speeding. There must be a probable cause before they will stop you, before they will stop your car. All right? So what do you do in that kind of a situation? Let's assume you are walking on the street and the policeman comes to you. He doesn't have, and this, of course, you have to take this question state by state in terms of you walking on the street and the policeman come to you. In some states, you know, they have what they call stop and identify, you know. So can they be, say, for example, in Maryland, if a policeman has the belief, probable cause that this person that is walking on the street, maybe you are carrying a gun or you are transporting a gun or things like that, he or she can ask you just two things. What is your name and what is your address? To give your name and to state your address. And that is if he has a probable cause to stop to ask that question. Likewise, if you are driving, number one, they should have probable cause before they stop your car. And if they stop your car, they can ask you for your identification and your registration. Because I want people to understand that so that you don't confuse those rights together in terms of, oh, they said I shouldn't talk to policemen if they stop me. There are limits to how you can respond to that. If the policeman suspects you are carrying a gun, you are transporting a gun in Maryland, they can ask you and you can give your name and your address. That's it. They do not have any right, of course, to ask you about your immigration status. And you don't have to volunteer any additional information about that. I know there are some people who may be listening to this conversation, this Zoom event, who are not in Maryland. You need to know the law of your state before knowing to what extent you are required to respond to a policeman who's just asking you a question on the street. So, like, for example, in DC, there is no stop and identify statute in DC. You cannot be going on the street and the policeman will come to you and say, okay, I suspect you for something. What's your name? What's your address? You may refuse to answer in that context. Likewise, in Virginia, maybe in some counties, they may have statute, but generally speaking, for the state of Virginia, you don't have to answer any question from a policeman who just stop you on the street without any probable cause. Maryland, even though they can ask you if they believe that you are carrying or transporting gun, the limit of your response to them is just your name and your address. Finish. Now, to your home. That is where you have the biggest right, okay? That is where you have your biggest right. Nobody can come to your home and say they want to enter your home without a warrant. And when we say a warrant, what is a warrant? Sometimes àwọn Arabi, they can have a document that they printed in their own office. Àwọn eyes can call warrant sórí ẹ̀. That is not the warrant we are talking about. So the warrant will be from a court of law, from a judge, to sign, okay, go and arrest or search Mr. X house. So if they don't have that warrant in their hand, you don't get no right to come into your home. So what would you do if the iceman or the policeman, whatever it is, come to your home? Sir, do you have a warrant? So I don't need warrant, then show it to me. Either slip it under the door, let me see it. Or what I pay be the glass one, You can have a screen door where you can see the warrant with your name on it. Then, of course, they have the right to enter. So, and this in your own. The question is a little bit, or a little bit nuanced in terms of Tambawasi, any masjid. Okay, and I want people to understand this very well as well. If they come to the masjid, you have every right to ask them, do you have a warrant to come into the masjid? Okay. And of course, how would they even have a warrant to come in there? To come on anybody in there. But you have the right to ask them for a warrant. Now, this is where it's kind of technical in a little bit. They might want to argue with you and say that, oh, the masjid is not the same as your private home. It's a public place. Anybody can come there. Okay? Now, what I would suggest for each masjid to do is to have a sign, put it out by your entrance or whatever, private property. Okay? That way, they cannot say that, oh, the masjid is a public place and everybody can go in, regardless of whether there are eyes or there are no eyes. Which, of course, technically it is true. If you have a public place, then anybody can go in there, except you restrict your movement. But I want about a wasi bed, any masjid. You still have your right to say, okay, we do not want you to be here because you are not invited and if you don't have any warrant. If they have a warrant, it's a different question. I hope I'm clear on that. So now let's say they have a warrant, or maybe they violate your rights, force them to come into your house, or you are just walking on the street without committing any crime, and then they stop you over. What are your rights in that situation? Okay, because you can talk that, okay, this is your right, this is your right. What happens in case that your right is being violated? Okay. The most important thing and the critical thing is that in that situation, number one, you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything to them. We don't want our people to be in a kind of situation that, oh, they already do or say something that they are not supposed to do. And say, oh, I didn't know. You are hearing that, and I'm sure we have had it all over the place. As long as they are violating your constitutional right to come into your home without a warrant, or they stop you on the road without probable cause, you don't have to answer that question. Most important, you don't have to answer any question about your immigration status. Okay. Now, secondly, what you can do if your right is being violated in that way is you don't have to sign anything, any document, any statement, or whatsoever. Don't sign nothing. And of course, you have the right to have a lawyer to be present when they want to question you, okay? Or to make a phone call to somebody who's going to be of assistance to you in that situation. Now, the last right that you have, which is very important, is as much as possible, if your right is being violated in that kind of situation, is to record whatever is happening. Make a video recording of whatever it is that is happening when your right is being violated. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I hope I'm not just mixing all these things up. The next thing is in terms of how do you protect yourself when you are being encountered by law enforcement. Let's say you are walking on the street, not committing any crime, and a policeman or ICE or whatever it is now accost you and they're asking you questions. Okay, like I said, in that kind of a situation, you have the right not to answer them. All right, you have the right to remain silent. So in that kind of situation, what do? Just make sure you put your hands where they can see your hands, and you be calm. and you ask them, am I free to leave? Can I please leave? Okay. If you are driving your car and they flag you down, just make sure you find a safe place as near as possible. You stop there, turn off, turn up the engine to your car, roll down your glass, your window glass, like halfway, and put your hands on the steering wheel where they can see it. The same situation. Don't say nothing to nobody about your immigration status. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is what are those documents that we should be taking along with us, depending on what is your situation, depending on what is your immigration status. Okay? US citizens, of course, as a US citizen, you do not have to take with you any evidence of your citizenship. Okay? But for practical purposes, not because the law requires it, take a copy of your US passport, just in case. You never know. You can be in a place and they start picking up people. Just show that you are a US citizen, so you don't get into that kind of situation. For people who have green cards, okay, the law requires you to carry your green card with you wherever you go. Just like you carry uh, your driver license with you when you drive, you have the green card, make sure ẹ máa mú green card yín rìn jáde. Worst case scenario, tẹ́ bá bẹ̀rù pé green card yẹn máa sọnù mọ́ yín lọ́wọ́, ẹ sì copy ẹ̀, ẹ fi sínú wallet yín, just in case you get to anywhere and they are picking anybody up, you are a green card holder. But the law requires you to actually have your green card with you at all times when you are outside. For those of us that we don't have a green card, but we were wọlé to change our status, please take along with you anything that you have that shows that you have a pending case with immigration. Okay? Maybe you filed for asylum, you must have your receipt notice with you, take it with you. You file for green card, you have your receipt notice showing that, take it along with you, okay, just in case. And on this issue of what document you should be taking along with you, just quickly, I want to talk about, because recently there's this news all over the place that a woman who was from Ivory Coast was, they took her passport, whatever. If you are a US citizen and you also have your Nigerian passport, for example, okay, you don't need to get a visa to go to Nigeria on your US passport. Just make sure that when you are leaving the US, your US passport is valid, both you're going out and coming in. So this has caused a lot of confusion. I got calls from all over the place, from Nigeria, all over Africa. People are there getting worried, sick, that, oh, I went to my country with my passport, with my Nigerian passport, with Sierra Leonean passport. Am I going to be able to come back? Of course, you're going to come back. Just make sure when you're coming back, you have your US passport with you before you can come back in. All right? Now, after it is all said and done, the last group of people I want to discuss about are those people that are well, I don't want to use the word undocumented. Let's be clear. Those who are out of status. Maybe you're here in the US and you don't have your papers yet. You don't have your green card. You don't have any case pending for you. What can I tell you? Okay. What are your rights? We already talked about your right in terms of remaining silent when the policeman come to you or the ICE come to you or whatever. So let's say all of that has happened, okay? But still, you are now in their custody. They've arrested you, and you don't have any papers to be in this country. What are your rights? Okay? And this is where you have that comfort of mind that, like I said, the US is still a country of laws. They cannot just grab you on the street or come to your home, grab you, and put you in a plane and say, okay, time to go home to your country. No. Even if you have a criminal conviction, okay, they cannot grab the person and say, okay, we are shipping you back to your country. They still have to go through the court process, okay? That's the first thing for you to understand. They have to go through the court process. They have to put the person in what they call removal proceedings, okay? And you go before a judge. The judge will make a decision on your case, you know? And
It's called
if you don't
so
like
where you have to remove.
if you don't like the decision of the judge, you have the right. Let's say the judge ruled against you, make an order of deportation against you. You have the right to file an appeal against the judge's decision, which will go to the Board of Immigration Appeals. Okay? And if you get to the Board of Immigration Appeals and you still lose that appeal, you still have a right to file an appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals. So there's a process. It's not as if just going to be going on the street, they grab you or come to your home, they grab you and they say, okay, ship you to Africa or wherever you are from. They still have to go through the court process. Now, the second and the most important right that you have, if you are in ICE custody, they already pick you up, is this. You have a right to have a bond hearing. That means you can ask the judge to set you up on a bond to be released. Of course, when they say you have to set up a bond hearing, it's not like automatic, but ICE does not have the authority to detain you or put you in custody until your removal proceedings is over, except for who? Those people who have certain criminal offenses, okay? Àwọn yẹn ni wọ́n wà subject to what they call mandatory detention. If somebody has some qualifying criminal offense, we cannot go into all of that right now, but if you have certain criminal offenses, conviction, then if you are arrested by ICE, they have the right to detain the person, but the person will still have to go through the court process for deportation. The only problem is that that person will remain in ICE custody until the deportation case is over. But if you don't have that criminal conviction, you are not subject to mandatory detention, then you have a right to ask the judge to set up a bond for you to be released so that you can be on the street for as long as your case will take in court for proceedings to be over. So if you happen to be in that situation, maybe you have a final deportation order against you, okay? Or maybe you are in the country and your visa is already, invalid, it's already out of status. Or you have some certain criminal convictions, there are certain steps you can take to remedy the situation before, it will get too late. So the time to start doing that is to consult with people who can guide you on what you need to do to get yourself ready, to put yourself in a situation that you can at least be able to have some kind of relief if your case is put before the court for removal proceedings in court. That is all I have, Ibrahim. So we can open the floor for any questions, and I'll be glad to answer any question that you may have. Thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khairan. So thank you very much. So we are going to go to Q&A. I know we only have about 30 minutes and there's a lot of questions. Please, I know there's some, okay. Alaja Saleko, go ahead. On mute. Let's start with you, then we'll read all the other questions being posted.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Alaja Suleman.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned like we can go about with our passport, but can your driving license do the same thing if we have a valid driving license?
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't serve the same purpose. Like I said, as a US citizen, you don't have, there's no law that says you must carry your passport with you. Just to avoid any kind of embarrassment or being inconvenienced by you getting picked, because it has happened. Somebody is a US citizen and get picked up along with other people who are not, before they will sort everything out. Of course, eventually that person will be released, but it's just the inconvenience of getting picked up and get mixed up with other people. So typically, if you have your driver's license with you, that should be fine. If they check it, they should be to see that you're a US citizen, but it's just to be practical about it. And once they have to comply with the law in terms of carrying their immigration status with them is I want to green card holders, then you have to carry your green card with you. That's what the law says.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the one has been here. I've been a citizen for heaven knows how many years now. And I've been using my driving license everywhere. Can't I show them that?
Yeah, you could do that. That's what I'm saying. It's your choice. You don't have to carry any evidence of your citizenship with you. You can show them your driver's license.
Okay, thank you.
For now, I think depending on I guess maybe in some situation, the law enforcement people, they should be able to see your status from their system, but I don't believe it's all of them that can do that. So if you are in a situation that maybe
I have my social. I went to college here. I did everything here more than 30, 40 years. So
all right. Awesome.
okay.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Alaji. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I will read the first question. There are like about 10 questions here, but whichever we can cover. Let me start with this one. Sir, will DACA recipients or TPS holders be at risk of removal under the new administration?
DACA, no. TPS, what country are we talking about?
The person just said TPS. I don't even know what TPS is.
Yeah, TPS is temporary protected status.
Okay.
So, and they give the TPS out to individual countries on a case-by-case basis. I don't know if you watched the news recently. Venezuela, under Biden, they had TPS, and when the new president came in, they revoked it. So, if you are in that kind of situation, it will depend on what is the government policy. The government policy can be that okay, they revoke the TPS of your country. And that's what TPS means, temporary protected status. It could be gone at any time.
So the DACA recipient, they are not.
Yeah, DACA recipient, they are fine.
They are fine at this time. Okay, good.
Fine. Yeah.
So for those DACA. So second question, I'm a green card holder for over 8 years now, but I got convicted a couple years ago. Am I at risk under the new administration policies?
Wow, that would depend on the nature of your criminal conviction. It's not all crimes that triggers deportation. So the current government policy has not changed that. So we just need to understand the nature of the criminal case that you have, okay? But one thing is that people should be very careful. If you have a green card, okay, you should be very careful because there is what they call aggravated felony offense. And when you hear the word aggravated felony, you might think that it's something that requires a very big offense. No, not at all. Okay, it depends on the definition of the crime, because in when the law was amended in 1997, 1998, to now bring up a new definition of what they call aggravated felony. Say, for example, look at the simple, theft, a crime of theft, boya olojali, and this happened to a lot of young guys from Africa, okay? What you want for a long time with green cards from when they were very small, okay? They will go to a store, do what teenagers will do sometimes, maybe steal an item, that is less than $1,000. They get charged to the court for a criminal case for theft, okay? But because it's their first time offense, they didn't go to jail or anything like that, but they get convicted, and then the judge sentenced them to a year in jail, okay? A year in jail, and then suspend it, okay? They didn't even get to spend a day in jail, okay? But they get convicted, said, and the judge said, okay, I sentence you to maybe like 1 year in jail, suspend all the 1 year time, and put them on probation. That is an aggravated felony. Just to give you an example, okay? That is an aggravated felony, and you don't have any defense for that. If that happens to you, that person is going to be in a very deep trouble. So you want to be the question until we know the nature of the conviction, what the crime is all about, what is the sentence that the judge imposed on that person, before you can say whether or not that kind of person will face deportation issue.
Okay. Sean, so I just want to add, for those who send those questions, if you need further to dive into your case, because we cannot, this is personal thing, so you can reach out to the attorney on this. You can take a screenshot of this. That is the phone number of the office, and that's his information. So let's go to another question. I wanted to follow up on that question. If it is a misdemeanor, because I can try to classify, if it's a misdemeanor, I don't know, would that person be affected? Maybe that person stole or stole something.
That's exactly what I'm trying to explain. That you see, the problem is, for criminal laws, you are convicted under the state law, but you're talking about immigration. Immigration is federal law. So the one I just described to you now, let's say you are in Maryland and you get charged for a theft less than $1,000, that is a misdemeanor. It's not a felony in Maryland under Maryland law, but under the U.S. immigration law, that is an aggravated felony offense. So I get the very thing. So the law of the state might call it a misdemeanor in the law of your state. It might be a misdemeanor in the law of your state, but under the federal law, it might be considered an aggravated felony.
Okay, let's move to the next question. So is it okay for me to travel, as I just got my permanent residence recently with this new administration policies?
Yeah, of course. As a green card holder, you have the right to travel. Just make sure at least you don't spend more than 6 months outside.
Okay. Okay, that brings me to I think I read somewhere that if you travel more than 6 months, they are forcing people to sign one form at the point of entry. Shall I elaborate a little bit on that for those that stay more than 6 months with permanent residence?
Well, the simple and long answer is this: when you have a permanent resident, you have a green card, you have the right to travel out of the country. But when you stay outside of the U.S. for more than 6 months, there is a presumption of law that you've abandoned your green card. It's just a presumption, not a conclusion, all right?
Okay.
So you might be able to rebut that presumption. Well, I did not abandon my green card, okay? But if you stay for more than a year, then it is no longer a presumption. It's a conclusion of law that you've abandoned your permanent residency. So just to be on the safe side, come back less than 6 months. If you know you want to stay outside of the U.S. for more than a year, you can do that, but just file for the re-entry document for you to do that. If you file for the re-entry document, then you can stay outside for 2 years.
Okay. I think this next question you've already answered. If asks for my ID, do I have to talk to them and show them my identification, or can I remain silent? The answer during your presentation.
You have the right to remain silent at all times.
Okay.
You don't have to volunteer your immigration status to them.
Okay, good. I think this next one, it's the answer. Sir, I have a pending application. The person puts such as asylum or marriage. and a valid work authorization. If I stop me on the road or question me, what should I say or do?
Well, I mean, it depends on what they're asking you. You see, irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn tó pé you have your case pending. Àwọn tó ní báwọn ti ń sọ kíní ní Yorùbá. So let's assume you just like what my sister Raja Sali asked at that time. Okay, it's a question of if you have you already filed a case pending. Okay, I think we just have to learn to be practical in this kind of a situation. Okay, what can you do just to minimize any type of inconvenience to yourself? If you already have a case pending with immigration, technically, like I said, you don't have to volunteer or answer any question about your immigration status. Okay, but I like to take into practical consideration. Ìwọ tẹ́ kó ti ní case tó ti ń pend lọ́wọ́ pẹ̀lú ìjọba, right? So it depends on how they ask you about it, because even though you have your case for asylum pending already, then they cannot do anything to you until your case is over, right? So even if they put the case in court for deportation, you have the right to have your case to be concluded before they will take any action against you. But until under any circumstances, don't say anything about your immigration status. It's until to expire, right? So you don't ever want to give them any kind of information whatsoever about your status.
Very good. The next question. Good afternoon, sir. I am here for my aunt who has been in this country for 20 years and has never filed for change in status. Please, what can she do now?
Wow.
I guess that's like a personal thing to reach out to your office.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to be careful with that. Yeah. Salam alaikum, sir. My employment-based application was denied last December due to lack of I-94, which is not our fault. And our lawyer had filed I-290B appeal, and it had been acknowledged. Since our case had been denied, are we still active, or are we illegal in the system? Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, that's too broad a question for me to answer without much details. But the fact is this, and I want people to understand this. And in terms of employment-based application for adjustment of status, and I see this quite frequently, especially on filing for EB2 visas. Some of our guys, they are very well qualified for EB2 visa because they have advanced degrees, no question about that. So they file this petition for advanced degree professionals, which get approved by the USCIS. But the unfortunate problem is that they came into the country with a visiting visa that expired after 6 months, okay, maximum 1 year. And the thing I want everyone to understand is this: if your non-immigrant visa has already expired, by the time you file your form I-485, go to the file from green card, why deny it? Because for you to get your green card here in this country, you must have filed your I-485 when you are in valid non-immigrant status. I see so many of these cases. I mean, what are you doing? I want to tell about by the time to approve I-140 petition, by the time that you file for I-485, your B1, B2, or whatever non-immigrant visa you had, OT expire. So in that situation, I only approve it for you. You can file a 290B, I can buy time, mean anything. You need to find a way another way to regularize your papers.
I think somebody's raising their hand up. I'll just defer. I have other 2 questions. Ms. Samsung SM13, can you go ahead with your question?
Right.
Samson, can you unmute? You raise your hand up. Do you have a question for us?
No, kíní kò gbọ́ kíní. Yorùbá la gbọ́.
Oh, I'm sorry. What question do you have?
Yorùbá.
Ìbá ló ń gbọ́, kí ni ìbéèrè yín?
Oh, kí ni ìbéèrè yín? Sorry.
Okay. Bon, ìbéèrè tí wà a fẹ́ gba nọ́mbà ká rí yín ní kíní ni. Ní ọ́fíìsì.
Wọ́n ti gbé nọ́mbà mi sórí kíní bẹ̀yẹn.
Ibo ló wà?
Ẹ ti rí i.
Irọ́ àrí.
Ẹ rí lórí fóònù yín báyìí. Ẹ wò ẹ take ẹ screenshot ẹ.
Ṣé ẹ ní pen kí n pè fún ẹ?
Okay, mo ń bọ̀. Okay, ya, mo ń gbọ́.
301
301
982
982
3434.
3434.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
301 982 3434.
Yeah.
Okay, ẹ ṣeun gan.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, the next question. For those that have pending asylum case, do we have to renew EAD card for our kids that are less than 18 years that don't need to work now?
No, you don't have to do that.
So why are you going there for?
You don't have to do that.
Huh? Sorry, there's this noise.
Only you don't have to renew the work permit for our month. You are under 18. Once the to file for the first time, and I think solar for one. So you don't really need it.
Okay, very good. So they don't need to file the EA to renew the EA. File for okay.
Matter of fact, no, nothing. It's just a fee. They have to pay for that. It doesn't matter. They can do that.
Okay, so in a scenario where a family came in with a visitor visa and later filed for asylum a month, social security number and work permits. A year later, marriage green card was filed. Should there be any concern?
Okay, they enter with a B1, B2 visa, then file for
Asylum.
And then a year later apply for marriage-based case, right?
Yes.
That's okay. That's fine. Yeah, okay.
Fatai Suleman.
Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum. I have a pending case. As a pending case status, can someone travel to another state for visiting a friend with the situation going on?
Yeah, only can
As someone who has a pending case, can that person travel to another state to visit a friend with the situation going on?
What kind of pending case are you talking about?
I'm reading verbatim what's
Yeah, because we need to be a lot to be very practical. So you say I don't understand. Say pending case for immigration court in
asylum.
Pending asylum case. Right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, of course. Like I said before, you have your case pending. They can't do anything to you about that. Just make sure you have the evidence of your pending case with you.
Okay. All right, but I see a hands raised by somebody raised their hand up, Otilo. Who was that? You can unmute and answer, Mr. Dr. Lekon Adewi. You can unmute. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum
salam.
Yeah, my name is Lekon Adewi. I have a friend. He has a 10 years green card. But unfortunately, he was involved in a cyber crime. And he was convicted and is out of jail. So in this scenario, is it safe or look for a lawyer to protect himself from being deported?
Ṣé wọ́n ti convict ẹ̀ àbí wọ́n kàn release
Want to
ẹ̀?
convict one, want to release one from
Wọ́n ti
prison.
prison ó ti serve.
Want to serve time.
Wow. And he got released
He got released.
from jail.
Yeah.
Wọ́n dẹ̀ serve kí ni lórí jail yẹn detainer on him.
I don't think so. Oh, wow.
Tá bá ti release ẹ̀ ó ní kó wọ́n serve detainer on him nìyẹn because typically once tí wọ́n bá ti parí sentence wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn before they get released sometimes àwọn immigration wọ́n á send detainer pé kán bá wọn detain pé àwọn máa pick it up. Okay. Somebody to release it. Well, that's a very good thing for him. So now it will depend on the nature of the crime. Like I said, cognizable crime will lead to deportation. So we have to see the nature of the charge. Cannot convict you of one. What was the sentence before one can see whether or not Omar was subject to deportation? But at least the good thing is that he's not being detained by ICE. They pick it up after time with them.
Okay, Samari lórí.
Yeah, okay. So the best about the exact nature of the crime and the conviction, then we can evaluate that for him.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Very good. I know we have 8 more minutes. Can a person with green card apply for adoption for a grandchildren? And how do the person go about it?
Is the green card parent, is he married or not married?
I don't. I'm just
So you have to be a U.S. citizen in order you can adopt. If let's say you have a green card, but maybe your spouse is a U.S. citizen, then you can do that.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so that person that has a green card the spouse was a U.S. citizen.
Okay, yeah.
But the person is now a widow.
Huh?
The person is now a widow.
Oh, and she only has a green card.
Yes.
So, Omatan Sorensen, she is a child here in the U.S. Oh, say, why don't you just give me a call, then we can talk about that.
Okay. I'll reply the person. All right. I think I see Elijah Nofisat Dollar Dator. Go ahead. I am it. Answer the question.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, thank you for your time and thank you for all the knowledge that you have shared. So bottom line is this. So what I'm getting from what you've said today is, as long as you're documented or you have something pending, you should be okay. There's nothing for you to worry about.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's the bottom line. So all this scare of, if you have a pending case, whatever kind of case it is, asylum, green card, whatever, as long as you have proof that you have something pending, you have nothing to worry about.
Definitely, Benny. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because a lot of people tiku. So it's important to understand that as long as you got something pending and you're documented, either green card, citizen, you unless of course if you have something, if you have even if you have a charge like the guy that just spoke to you earlier and he has been released, then he's been released. There's nothing for him to worry about. Unless maybe he commits another crime and then he comes to their attention, then he has something to worry about.
Well, for that kind of person, I won't say, I mean, it's like in the beginning of our talk today, what is their enforcement priority? Okay, àwọn tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ at least àwọn tó jẹ́ the enforcement priority for the current government is àwọn tó yẹ pé wọ́n ti ní criminal convictions, deportation orders. Okay, so the mere fact that he got released doesn't mean that they cannot come looking for him, because most of àwọn tí wọ́n ti arrest in tansin, àwọn tí wọ́n ní criminal convictions ni wọ́n, or tí wọ́n ti ní order of deportation. So but ìwọ tí yẹ pé o kàn wà nílùú tó yẹ pé it's just that your visa is out of status, but to apply for something, you have a case pending, you are not on the top of the list of their enforcement priority. But that does not mean you should just take anything for granted. As long as your case is still there, then you're okay, you are good to go. You don't have to have your, live your life in fear. As long as you have a case pending and you don't have any criminal case, no deportation order, just calm down and focus your life and live your life.
Let me share this. And so Elijah Saleko was asking a question about driver's license. So there's this rule about this star that says once you have this star, that means your immigration status is valid. Don't they know that the ICE that are enforcing, don't they know that once they look at your driver's license and they see this,
Yeah,
so, they see this star, that then you are good, because most of the states are enforcing that.
Yeah, that is the real ID. And Elijah to be the question, Elijah Sally to be the question, you didn't say what kind of ID you want to know, because some people, they have not converted their ID card or their driver license to real ID.
Real ID. Yeah, that's real ID. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, that's the real ID driver's license. So because for example, I want.
Yeah, mine has the star on it. Mine has the star.
Okay, so if you have the real ID, then you are good.
Oh, okay. Mine has the star on it.
So that's why you have to be very careful when you talk to the people, because I remember when we convert the driver license and see real ID. They are not in the same situation.
Very good. There's a question here: can someone expedite an asylum case, and what is the implications?
Well, if you want to expedite your asylum case, just make sure you have a very good case for for the asylum case to start with. It's like pulling a tiger by the tail, So it's a double-edged sword. So if you have an asylum case pending and you expedite it, of course, the interview the case can either head up one way or the other. You go for your interview, you have a good case, you get your case approved. If on the other hand, you don't have a solid case for asylum, what do you think the next thing that happens when you go for the interview and you didn't get it? The case gets to the court for deportation hearing. So be careful about that, what you wish for.
Okay, good. Mr. Ranuruddin Adenola, you have a question. Go ahead. Unmute yourself. Brother Nuruddin, you can unmute.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate everything you have said. Modupe Pupo for your time. I joined late. I don't know if you have mentioned this, so I'm sorry if I'm drawing you back, but I want a clear clarification that a person with dual citizenship and wants to travel home doesn't need to put visa on his own passport. That is, if you are a Nigerian and you are going home and you have a valid Nigerian passport, you also have a valid US passport, do you still need to put visa on your Nigerian passport? Please, that is my question.
You mean on your US passport?
on your US passport, on your US passport.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, you have mentioned that no, you don't need to have a visa on your US passport, as long as make sure that your US passport is valid before you leave. That's all you need. So if you are going to Nigeria, you can use both your Nigerian passport and your US passport, as long as you make sure that when you are leaving the US, your US passport is valid. That's all you need.
Okay, Sister Amira, I'm not sure if I understand this question you posed. Defensive asylum case and the judge order removal, but you appeal. share and understand questions.
Yeah, that's okay. Defensive asylum means that NT will file the asylum for it. Maybe after that, court, those file for asylum, and the judge now denies it. So, and that's part of what I just described initially in terms of the US being a country of laws, is that you have to go through the judicial process. They can't just grab you on the street and take you in the plane and take you out of the country. So take it that they court from deportation, right? Even if you don't have papers, you should have that confidence that even if you don't have papers, they still have to take the case to the court for deportation hearing. And if you lose your case before the judge, you have the right to file an appeal within 30 days, okay? And as long as you file out your appeal within that 30 days, you still have the right to remain in the country until the appeal is over. So yeah, the long and short question is that that person is okay. If the judge denies your asylum case, either defensive or not defensive asylum case, and you file your appeal within 30 days of the judge decision, yeah, you are fine. You have every right to remain in the country until your appeal is over.
All right. This is 5:31, and we don't want to go over because some people are close to Margaret. I see a hands up. I think that will be the last, Brother Najim Oluwo, before we do closing prayer. Afa Jami, are you still on for the closing prayer? Brother Najim Din Oluwo, please go ahead. You can unmute. Please, this is the contact for our attorney, Fatai Suleman. You can still get hold of him. That's his phone number, that's the address. I know there's some other question we can get to. If there is need for us to do this again, inshallah, we will do it again. If that's relying on lawyer Suleiman, if time permits. So, Brother Najim Oluwo, please go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you for your time and thank you for everything that you're doing. I want to ask about this scenario, which happened to our experience in 2019, while coming back from Nigeria. The immigration officer saw my passport, Nigerian passport, and he put me to a rigorous questioning. In spite of everything is valid. I mean, the American passport, Nigerian passport, it was saying that, maybe it's just a radical thing. But I saw somebody that was sent back. They apparently seized his passport or took his passport from him and sent back. So where it's going to be the liberty for us to appeal or whatever in that kind of scenario. It took the Almighty Allah to come in that I was able to get into US because that guy was so mean, and that was in Chicago, February 19, 2019. So in that case, how is it possible? Let's say they send the person back to Nigeria. So what is he going to do?
And did you say the person is a US citizen also?
Yes.
That's very strange.
Yeah, very
It's not strange. It's not really strange because I'm telling you from my personal experience. If not for the intervention of the Almighty Allah, the next lady in the cubicle just intervened and said, "Hey, let him go." Wow. For that word alone, that was the saving grace. Wow. But the other guy wasn't too lucky. So how is someone going to go about that?
The thing you should do is this: kill them about the US.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way you should do it, which is perfectly legal. About the US, kill them Nigerian passport in the US, man. So once when you are in the airport in Lagos, Nigeria, of course you have to present your US passport before they board you and print your boarding pass for you with your US passport. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you pass through custom in Nigeria, the Nigerian passport, you don't stamp Nigeria on your Nigerian passport, then put it in your bag. The only thing you need to take with you when you come to the US is your US passport.
What he was asking, how we came about where's your Nigerian passport was that he didn't see me, my passport stamped in Nigeria, which was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So he said, how did you get in? How did you get into Nigeria? So all that kind of back and forth questions were coming, to the extent he was even asking me, what was your pledge when you were becoming a citizen? Then I said, am I going to another interview here now for citizenship? Believe me.
Wow.
So like I said, it took the intervention of the Almighty Allah for me to get in. If not for the lady who said that. So my main concern now is that if one finds himself or herself in that kind of situation, it is when we are in here, we can invite, take the opportunity of getting lawyers and all that. But at the point of entry where there's nobody to help somebody. So that's just my.
Well,
Yeah, Alhaji Suleman, I had a similar scenario in 2022. I was in Nigeria. I went with Nigeria passport.
Alhamdulillah.
And when I was coming, I put my Nigerian passport in my luggage and I showed them the American passport. Nigeria said I have to go and bring the Nigerian passport I entered in. So we have to be very careful, you know.
So that's in Lagos. Let me know.
Yes.
Lagos,
But
right?
I have to.
Not in US here, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying it, you know, so you need a 2 passport in Nigeria. I had to, you know, my luggage has gone in and I have to pay so much money for me to be able to come out. So we have to be very, very careful when we use that to go into Nigeria with Nigerian passport. It was a nightmare for me. I cried, believe me, I was weeping because I had to go. So we have to be very careful when using the Nigerian passport. You know, we have to be very, very careful.
But the one I'm describing is here in US. So
yeah, I mean, it's the same scenario, you know.
No, it's not, but it's okay. There's no room for argument like that. So coming to US, that's the main issue.
That your situation is a very peculiar situation for a US.
Yes.
Having issue coming back to the country. Why would they be asking you about anything else in terms of how you go to Nigeria, that kind of stuff?
So due to timing, Moripe,
yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawyer Suleman, for your time. May Allah bless you and enrich you as well as your family. We thank you. So, Afa Muhammad Jami Abdulsalam will give us opening prayer because of that shows that Maghrib is already in. So, Ejo, there was a question. Afa Jami, are you, for those who are going to Hajj, are you saying there's no visa for Hajj? Or I saw you post something.
On arrival, visa on arrival. There's nothing like visa on arrival during the Hajj period. You can get visa on arrival for Umrah, not Hajj season.
Okay, thank you for the piece of
I think that one is already clear. Without the question, the answer has been clear. No visa on arrival during the Hajj period.
Okay,
alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So to our barrister Abdul Fatai Adirani Suleman, Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah reward you with the best of the best, inshallah. And to every listener, everybody, and the anchorman, engineer Ibrahim Arurawa, and everybody behind this, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless every one of us, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Without much ado, I think another one is coming up tomorrow from the national. This one is for DMV, the Muslim community. There's going to be another one tomorrow, Sunday, February 9, from National Council of Nigeria Muslim Organization, inshallah. Anybody, if you are able to join again, you can join that one too, inshallah. So may Allah bless every one of us, inshallah. So ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تعمل علينا إسرا كما عملت على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تعملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم.
Thank you, sir.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If I may ask, please, what time tomorrow?
And the link, please.
Okay, thank you.
And the link, please, for tomorrow meet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Salam alaikum. I said the link to join tomorrow.
All right,
Oh, you're
thank you so
asking for
much,
the
ma'am.
link. Okay.
For the link, yeah, to join tomorrow.
Oh,
Thank
the
you.
link to join tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
We will send it to this link,
Thank you,
inshallah.
sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate.
Okay.
God bless you all.
I mean,
Thank you.
Amen.
so, all right, Ibrahim, we'll talk, okay?
Jazakumullah, sir. Adúpẹ́ fún yín o.
All right.
Àárín yín pẹ́ láṣọlá.
Inshallah.
Thank you, sir.
It's a nice one. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Ẹ ṣé gan ni o.
Sure.
Ká má bẹ̀rù mọ́ ní báyìí o, ẹ má bẹ̀rù mọ́ o.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Ọlọ́run bá yín dúpẹ́ o.
Salaam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Ẹ ṣé o.
Ọlọ́run bá wa dúpẹ́. Imam, ẹ ṣé wọn. Ẹ̀yin lẹ ṣe o.
My barrister, pẹ̀lẹ́ o. Ẹ kúṣẹ́.
Ẹ ṣeun sa o, the love.
Sure. I'm looking for that NCMO link.
Yeah, màá send it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the right person is going to send it to you, Brian.
Who's the right person?
Okay. Sound like one you though.
Oh, my president.
Era Sabarisa.
Yes, again.
Yes, sir. I'm buying sorry later, sir.
Okay.
Inshallah.
My precious no la.
Ọ̀gá mi sá iṣẹ́ ń wo.
Ẹ kú iṣẹ́ náà.
Thank you so much all the time.
Sound like one club akatu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhaji, I didn't see the information. I'm looking. It's not posted. Okay.